Some moral issues concerning capital punishment. 1. As with other life and death issues, there are three main lines of approach. 1. One is to affirm that there is an absolute right to life, and that nothing can justify taking the life of another human being. This also underlies opposition to abortion and euthanasia. 2. Another is to take a utilitarian approach, balancing the loss of life against the cost to society of keeping a person in prison for life, or the potential suffering that could result if that person is released from prison and offends again. 3. There is also the need to deter others from committing murder or other serious crimes. The first of these is based on an absolute moral conviction, either of the natural law or the categorical imperative variety, and is thus not swayed by the nature of the crime or the needs of society. If human life is paramount, then other forms of punishment and protection of society are necessary. The second and third points are made more difficult by the great variety of serious crimes. Many murders are committed in the course of arguments between close relatives. Others take place in the course of robbery or drug dealing. Still others are politically motivated, as where a terrorist plants a bomb or carries out a shooting. It is difficult to balance the effect of a custodial sentence or capital punishment on any of these. A political murder may well be prepared to face capital punishment, thereby achieving martyrdom. On the other hand, a domestic murder may lead to profound remorse, and it is highly unlikely that the person involved would offend again. Some moral issues concerning capital punishment. 2. In Texas, there are three special issues that have to be unanimously agreed by the jury in order to sentence a person to death. 1. That the person deliberately sought the death of his or her victim. 2. That the person would probably commit acts of criminal violence in the future, posing a continuing threat to society. 3. That the murder was not the result of provocation by the victim. Of these, the most difficult to decide on ethically is the second. It implies that a person can be punished for a crime that he or she has not yet committed, but might reasonably be expected to commit in the future if allowed to live. In considering the utilitarian and deterrence arguments, two things need to be kept in mind. The first is that, from the operation of capital punishment in the USA, it may eventually cost up to 6 times as much to execute a prisoner as to keep him in prison for life. The reason for this is that execution takes place only after a lengthy series of appeals, which may last many years and are very expensive. The second point is that although it is reasonable to assume that the existence of capital punishment should be a deterrent, there is no firm evidence that it actually works as such. Countries with capital punishment do not automatically enjoy a lower incidence of murder. A further moral point for consideration is whether or not a prisoner should be allowed to choose to be executed if it is genuinely his or her wish, rather than be kept alive in prison for life. In this case, the utilitarian or deterrence arguments are less relevant. The issue becomes that of the right to die, and therefore of the autonomy of the individual.